Hello everybody and a very good morning. Welcome to Crafters TV. My name's Ben Moseby. Thanks for joining us. Here we are, it's Tuesday already and we are back for another fun day, another educational day I think you're going to find as we continue our Craft Your Stash shows. Shows all about helping you to get the very best out of all the stuff that you've got in your craft room, or indeed if you're thinking about getting into craft, answering all of those questions that you need answered and showing you how to get the very best out of your stash. A little bit later on tonight, we've got launch party, so do make sure you come back for that. Tonight at 5, featuring some of your favourite launches from the last few weeks. But this Craft Your Stash is going to be all about glues. So over the course of the next hour, Lily is going to be taking you through hopefully everything that you need to know. But as always, we are live and interactive. So if you have a question, if there's something you're not quite sure about, if you're thinking about, as I say, getting into craft and you need to find out which glue is going to benefit you the most, then feel free to fire those questions in because we want to know. And as I say, I am here with the lovely Lily Fletcher. We want to make it nice and interactive like yesterday, Lily, don't we?
We certainly do. So all those questions you've got when it comes to glues, tapes, any of the sticky stuff, we want those questions coming in for us today. We're going to take you through hopefully all the main key adhesives we use in our crafts, all the tapes, all the glues, all those specialist adhesives, so you can choose the correct glue for the job. But any questions you guys have at home, we'll have a little interactive segment at the very end of the show where we'll aim to answer all those questions. I'm looking forward to this one because I have to say I'm a little bit of an adhesive geek, so I'm very much looking forward to sharing all these different glues with you. And I'm set up, I'm ready and raring to go.
Yes, don't get stuck with things that stick is what I would say. We have got the lovely Rachel on the socials today. Already in is Lois saying good morning everyone from Ohio. Hello. Jeffrey Langley says happy Tuesday to all. May the day be bright and filled with great inspiration. Hi also to Teresa Campbell from Illinois. Michelle is in saying good morning. Hi Melanie D. Hello Julie Palmer who says good morning from Ipswich. And PB Brewer Martin says good morning to everyone. This is for Ben. Glues can be a sticky subject. Like we did there. Looking forward to Lily and her expertise. I appreciate all of the glue puns today. And Sandy Borick says, good morning all from Smock, Pennsylvania. But let's get into it then. Fire in those questions and we will tackle those at the end of the show. But to start off, I think it would be worthwhile with Lily going through all of the different glues and adhesives that you might be seeing here on the channel.
So I'm going to explain to you the importance of choosing the correct adhesive for the right material and for different purposes. So we'll start off by talking to you about our fantastic Collal all-purpose glue. And this is our go-to when it comes to all of your mats and layers. It dries really, really strong and really hard. So it's going to give you that lovely, luxurious, expensive, weighty feel to your projects, but without adding any weight at all. With it being a wet adhesive as well, it means you've got a little bit of wiggle room. So you've got time to actually maneuver that mat and layer into position to get that perfect lining up of all of your layers. It's actually a solvent-based glue, so in contrast to a water-based glue, which can sometimes buckle and warp your cardstock, especially if it's a lighter weight cardstock or paper, this is actually a solvent-based adhesive, and that means it's going to give you that lovely strength, it gives you that wiggle room, but it gives you that real ability to not have that warping or wrinkling of your cardstock. So a fantastic glue to go for all of your matting and layering. So next up, we'll come on to another of our glues, and the next glue we'll have a little look at here is our tacky glue. We've actually decanted this into one of our fine tip glue applicators, which enables us to get into all of those really intricate details on, for example, our die cuts and sentiments. This is a fantastic adhesive because it sort of fills in the gaps of the purposes that perhaps our all-purpose glue doesn't provide for us. So any more tricky materials, for example, coated cardstocks like your mirror cardstock, your pearl cardstock, heavier embellishments as well, this is fabulous for your fabrics, it could be your felt, your tacky glue will take on it all with absolute ease. And as well, with it being a wet adhesive, it means once again, very much like your all-purpose glue, you've got a little bit of wiggle room, so you've got time to maneuver those embellishments and maneuver those mats and layers into position. As well, with it being such a strong adhesive, it's great for your construction projects as well, and you know it's going to hold, for example, heavier boxes or perhaps gift bags that you're creating. It's going to take it all with total and utter ease. So those are our two of our wet glues. We've also got within that Collal glue range, we've got our 3D glue gel, and this is fantastic for sticking things like decoupage, anything where you want to actually hold that shape and give dimension with your layering. This is the one to go for. It comes out as a clear adhesive, as you can see there, and it dries really firm, really hard, dries fully overnight, so do leave this one a little bit longer to dry fully, but once it has dried completely, you know that that surface is going to contain that dimension, it's going to contain that height, and you're going to get that fabulous hard glue adhesion. This is not a silicone-based glue, which means you don't have any of that unpleasant odour that we tend to associate with our silicone-based glues, and it's not going to yellow your photos over time. So a great glue to be using on projects that you want to keep for many, many years to come. Next up, some of our tapes, and we will show you first our straight tape runner. This is a fantastic, really quick and easy adhesive to use. It just goes onto your products, it glides onto surfaces such as card, it could be wrapping paper if you're wrapping gifts and presents as well. It's a fantastically strong adhesive too, so as well as using it for your matting and layering, you can also be using this for your construction and your acetate as well. That's our straight tape pen. We also have within the tape pen range our dotty tape pen, which is fabulous for adhering our intricate die cuts. It only sort of adheres to those areas of the die cut and not the spaces in between, so you've not got any of that build-up of glue between the spaces of your intricate die cut, so an essential if you love your die cutting. Then next up, we also have our foam pads and our foam tape, which are brilliant if you want dimension. Similar sort of applications to your 3D glue gel, but these of course are dried instantly with them being taped. So if you are a little bit more impatient or are crafting in a hurry, these are fabulous ones to go for and give you that lovely depth and matte and layers to your height. And then finally, we also have our hot glue gun, which we've got just to the side here. It's just warming up ready for use, and this is fantastic for sticking heavier embellishments. Whenever you need a really quick grab, then that's the one to go for. Anything like buttons or bows, hot glue gun is a perfect adhesive for all of those applications. So when it comes to our glues within our Collal family, we've got our all-purpose, which is perfect for our matting and layering, solvent-based glue, which means it's not going to warp or wrinkle any of those mats and layers. We also have our tacky glue, which fills in some of the gaps in the uses that our all-purpose glue is not able to contend with. This is great for sticking things like your coated cardstocks, your embellishments, ribbons and fabrics. And then finally, within our Collal glue range, we have our 3D glue gel. This is the one for when you're using your dimension, perhaps you're doing your decoupage, anything where you want a little bit more height. This will dry really, really firm, and it will retain its shape and dimension as it dries. So great when you want a little bit of lift, a little bit of dimension onto your project. And these are your 3 key adhesives, your 3 key glues when it comes to your Collal glue range.
There we go. A really good overview of all of the different glues that we've got within our crafty armoury here, and sort of a look at all of the different uses. If you need to stock up on any of these, or indeed if you're already thinking to yourself, well actually I'm going to go for the all-purpose glue, or actually I'm going to go for the tacky glue, head to the website. All of the adhesives are there for you, and actually if you check the show later on, our launch party show, we do have an adhesives bundle available for you too, so you might find a lot of the adhesives that you want to work with available in that bundle. So if you shop the day, you'll be able to see all of those deals there. Hi to Sandy who's joined us, and also Linda Noel, who says good morning to all my crafty friends. I'm really enjoying these Crafty Stash shows, so informational. Brilliant word that is. And Zoe Carver says, afternoon all, I'm going to be glued to the screen for this show. I see what you did there. Keep those coming in, but more importantly than that, do keep those comments coming through, and any questions you've got as well, get them in nice and early so that I'll have them ready for the end of the show with Lily. But let's get into it then, and we're going to have a look at basic adhesives and their uses with Lily.
Let's have a little look at some of our basic adhesives that we use in our crafting and some of their uses. And we'll start off with our fantastic Collal all-purpose glue. This is a brilliant glue for matting and layering. This is actually a solvent-based glue, so in contrast to a water-based glue, this means that it's not going to buckle or warp your cardstock as you are applying it to that card and getting that matted and layered effects. So all we've got here is we've got 2 sheets of cardstock. We've got a black piece, which is about 1/4 of an inch larger than this purple piece here, and we want to mat and layer those 2 together. In order to do that, we're going to take our Collal all-purpose glue and we're going to apply it onto the reverse of this piece of cardstock. Now with your Collal all-purpose glue, less really is more, so you want to apply that glue in a fine motion, sort of quickly and delicately all over the reverse, so just going around that border of that cardstock, and then just a piece of glue in the middle, just a little bit of glue in that centre there, so you've got a nice cover, and you don't need to cover that full area. It's a very strong adhesive as it is, so just a border around the edge and then a piece in the middle will be sufficient to actually glue these 2 pieces together. Then just centralise that piece above that matting layer underneath. And the beauty of this being a wet glue means that you've got a little bit of wiggle room. So you don't need to position that perfectly first time round. You can lay that down onto your cardstock. You can have a little bit of a wiggle around and find that perfect positioning. And then once you're happy with the way that's been laid, just apply a little bit of pressure just to burnish that down. And that will sort of activate that adhesive to make sure that they're glued really nice and firmly together. Now, that's going to give you that fantastic bond between your mat and layer to give you that lovely thin black border. Now, once this dries, with it being a solvent-based glue, it dries really, really hard, so it will give a lot of strength to your projects. So even though you're not really adding weight because you're just adding a small amount of adhesive, it adds that sort of expensive look and feel to your projects by giving them real weight, real structure, and will hold really firm to give you perfect mass and layers. So that's why I absolutely love our all-purpose glue. It's a fantastic glue for all of your matting and layering. So next up, we're going to have a little look at our red liner tape. So our red liner tape is a really strong adhesive. It comes in 3 different widths. So you've got your largest, widest width there, which is your 12mm of your red liner tape. You then have your medium width, which is your 6mm, and you have your really narrow 3mm width. Each single one is just as strong as the other, but just different widths for different applications. So we're going to do a little bit of gluing with some of our acetate. Because this is such a strong adhesive, it's great for sticking perhaps more tricky materials that the all-purpose glue might struggle with a little bit more. So we've just taken a piece of white cardstock here, and we've taken the centre out by die cutting the aperture into the middle, and we want to back that with acetate. So we've got a piece of acetate here cut ever so slightly smaller than that square that we've got around the edge there. We've applied 3 of the sides with our red liner tape, and we're just going to complete that edge there with that 3rd edge of red liner tape. So just finding the end of the red line, as you can see, there it is. We'll just lay that down on our cardstock, press that down, and then just trim the edge there when we're happy with the length of our red liner tape. Now, red liner tape can sometimes, because it is so sticky, it can sometimes be a little bit tricky to peel the backing off. And my top tip is make sure that you've burnished that red liner tape down really, really well, and then you're much less likely to pull up the tape as well as just the backing. When we call it red liner tape, we're actually referring to the backing. The tape itself is actually very, very clear. It's sometimes referred to as well as an ultra clear tape. So it is just the backing itself that's red. As you can see there, the tape is very much clear, which makes it ideal for sticking clear materials like your acetate or translucent materials like your vellum as well. So I find it a lot easier to go in something like a pair of tweezers or a pokey tool just to slide under the backing of that red liner tape and then just remove that piece just like so. And then we're ready to pop our acetate onto the back there. So we'll just line our acetate up and then just stick that down over our red liner tape. Once we're happy with where we've positioned that, we'll just burnish that red liner tape just to activate that adhesion to make sure that it's nicely firmly stuck onto that cardstock. You can see there with total ease, just 4 pieces of our red liner tape, we've adhered our frame onto our acetate, perhaps to create a shaker card or just an aperture into our card base. It's super easy with your red liner tape. Now, with red liner tape being super strong, we can actually use it for construction projects. So if you're box making, your gift bag making, it's absolutely perfect. And all we've got here is we've got a box base where we've scored our 4 edges of there. We've already applied red liner tape to 3 of the tabs, but we're just going to go in and apply red liner tape there to the 4th tab. And with these being a lot thicker than the area that we just applied our adhesive to, it's brilliant to use a slightly wider width of our red liner tape, which is where our 12mm comes in. This is an ideal width of red liner tape for use with your box making. And once again, we'll just lay that down onto our tab there and then just trim the end once we are happy with the length of that red liner tape. Again, just burnishing that down to make sure that we've got that tape nicely adhered onto our surface. And we're actually sticking a coated pearlized cardstock as well, so it's almost like a 2-in-1. Not only are we trying to contend with the construction element, for which we need a really strong adhesive, but we've also got that coated element, which as we know can be a little bit more tricky to adhere. So the red liner tape is perfect for uses like this. Going in again with our pokey tool just to lift the backing off of our red liner tape to expose that adhesive. Now, red liner tape is super, super strong. So in contrast to our all-purpose, which gives us a little bit of wiggle room, once this is firmly adhered, that is it. It's pretty much stuck strong. And if you're a little bit nervous about that sort of one opportunity to stick your mats and layers down, or your boxes we're creating here, what you can do is once you have removed that backing from your red liner tape, just go in with something like a tacky glue or any sort of wet adhesive, wet glue, and you can just pop that onto the tape there, and that's going to give you a little bit of wiggle room. It's going to give you that time to manoeuvre that piece into position until you're happy with the placement. So we've got that extra little bit of a safety net, if you like, to make sure that we've got these box tabs lined up absolutely perfectly. And we'll just go around sticking those together, applying a little bit of pressure just to burnish those tabs to make sure that we've got them nicely adhered. And then that's going to give us our box space, just like so, ready to be sort of brought in conjunction with our box lid here, and the two will fit together absolutely perfectly. And by using our red liner tape onto the tabs there, it means that it's going to be lovely and strong and sturdy. So this will withstand the test of time when you are using your red liner tape onto your boxes. So for your box making, for sticking your acetate, or anything that's a little bit more sticky, a bit more tricky to stick down, your red liner tape is the one to go for. But when it comes to your matting and layering, your Coral All-Purpose is going to be absolutely ideal.
Absolutely brilliant, and hopefully you are picking up loads of hints and tips here. I know certainly Wendy is. She says, I'm really enjoying these Crafty Stash shows as I'm not spending money, saving it up for birthday week. Yes, 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 that is coming. Have you all got the booklet? It was released last night. If you haven't yet, check our various socials and you'll be able to download it, get a bit of a sneaky peek ahead as to what is coming your way next week. So make sure you're around for all of that. Michelle says, love the Coral All-Purpose. And Doreen says, I'm always having an argument with the red liner tape, lol. The back you have to remove always sticks to my hand. Do you know what? I've used that on a few occasions as well, mainly on craft-alongs on shows, and Doreen, exactly the same problem. You find it sticking to sort of places where you wouldn't expect it to stick to, wouldn't you, really, when you get home? So, oh, there it is. But anyway, hopefully you're picking up loads of ideas. Any questions, as I say, fire those in. And if you see something you like on this show, maybe an adhesive you think that you're going to get on with, get to the website and you can pick up all of those adhesives. Stock up now, ready in time for birthday next week, when you know you're going to be buying loads of new stuff, and you'll need all of the different glues to get the very best out of those. Moving on then to the next part of our Craft Your Stash. It can always be a little bit tricky, can't it, when you are sticking like delicate die cuts, things that are quite intricate, and we're going to look at the best adhesives to use for that right now with Lilly.
Adhering delicate die cuts can sometimes be a little bit tricky when you're crafting, so you need to choose the correct adhesive to make sure that none of that glue is showing between those delicate pieces of the die cut. All we've done here is we've taken one of our beautifully intricate dies, and we've taken the Dreamy Sentiments Love word here, and we've die cut that from some of our white cardstock. Now if we were to turn that over and we were to apply some of our regular tape pen, our straight tape pen as we call it, to the reverse of our die cut here, what you can see is between those pieces of the die cut where we've got those sort of aperture elements, they've actually got the glue is showing between those elements so that you can actually see the glue between there. And if we just stick that to our project, that's not exactly what we want. We're going to have the glue showing, which is definitely not going to give us the professional look and feel that we strive to achieve with our projects. So we'll leave that to one side, and we'll leave our straight tape pen to one side for other projects like our matting, layering and construction. And we'll bring in our dotty tape pen. Now in contrast to our straight pen, if we pop our straight tape pen down onto our cardstock, you can see it dispenses there a clear, full, solid line of adhesive. In contrast with our dotty tape pen, if we lay that down onto our cardstock, it just applies adhesive in sort of a dotty style pattern. So it's not applying that full sort of length of adhesive. So if we take the same die cut once again and we use our dotty tape pen onto the reverse instead, what we can see here is it's only applying that adhesive, that dotty reel of adhesive onto the die cut and not into the spaces in between. So that when we stick this to our project, we won't see any of that tape between all of those letters in. It's going to give us that beautiful professional finish. So if we just grab a piece of our black cardstock and we stick it onto the centre there of our black cardstock, we can see that none of that glue, none of that tape is visible between those intricate areas of the die cut. And that's a super, super delicate die, that one, and we cannot see any of that glue in between whatsoever. And your dotty tape pen, it's instant, it's easy, and it gives you that fantastic professional finished result. However, there is another fantastic intricate adhesive that we can use for adhering those really delicate die cuts, and that's our tacky glue. All we've done here is we've taken our tacky glue and we've decanted it into one of our fine tip glue applicators, which have a super, super fine nozzle in the end, which allow us to get into all of those fine details. If I just bring this into this piece of black cardstock, you can see there how fine and detailed that glue is. It really is dispensing just a tiny bit at a time to give us that really professional finish when we're adhering our die cuts. So same sort of idea, we're going to pop some of our glue onto the reverse, and you don't need to worry about getting glue exactly all over that die cut, just dotting that all over there to give us enough adhesive to adhere this properly. And then we can glue this to our piece of black cardstock. Now the contrast with our dotty tape pen and our tacky glue is that our dotty tape pen, as we saw just then, is completely instant, whereas our our tacky glue is a little bit slower to dry, but that does mean if you're not entirely happy with that positioning first time round, it gives you just a few moments to actually manoeuvre that into position until you're happy with the way that sentiment or whatever delicate die cut you're working with has been adhered. So exactly the same result with both our dotty tape pen and also with our fantastic tacky glue and our fine tip glue applicator, but just having a little bit more wiggle room with your tacky glue versus that instant stick with your dotty tape pen. Both of them are absolutely ideal for use with all of your intricate die cuts. Now we'll have another little look in action with our fantastic dotty tape pen. So your dotty tape pen is an ideal adhesive for all of your delicate die cuts. Here we've got a really detailed nesting die that we've die cut from some of our black cardstock, and we want to adhere that to our piece of white card here. Now if we were to adhere this with something like our straight tape pen, then we would get some of that adhesive showing through the gaps there. So something like your dotty tape pen is absolutely ideal if we lay this down on the reverse of our die cut, even going over those really intricate areas, none of that tape is showing through the gaps, and it's going to give you a really professional look and feel without having any of that adhesive. You can see even at that filigree area at the top, bottom and the sides there, none of that glue is showing between those die cut pieces, and that's going to stick to our cardstock absolutely perfectly. So we can just take our piece of cardstock, lay that down, apply a little bit of pressure onto there just to warm up that adhesive to get that lovely strong bond, and then you can see there you've adhered your intricate die cuts using your dotty tape pen with absolute ease.
Absolutely brilliant. Again, there's so many lovely comments coming through here. You guys are loving this, saying how much you are loving all of the information. Patricia just saying this is so informative. Angela says, Lily explained things so clearly and so well. Thank you. And if you did miss yesterday's Crafty Stash show, you can go back. It's there on Facebook. If you normally watch us on YouTube, again, you can search for it there. These shows will stay, of course, on Facebook and YouTube for you. So whenever you need to come back and have a bit of a refresher, then they will be there for you. I would note these down if I were you, because a lot of the times, you know, weeks pass, don't they, and then things kind of slip out of your memory, and then you go, oh, when was that show when Lily was talking about the glues? When was that show when we I would write them down, note them down, so you know exactly when to go back to. So when you do have that momentarily sort of moment of, you know, you have a blip and you think, oh, I can't remember what's what, then you can go back. The shows are there for you, and as I say, on Facebook, on YouTube, they will be staying there, and we've got them right throughout the week as well for you. We're going to be covering off things like embossing, storage, and tomorrow with Debbie we're going to be looking at stencils as well. So make sure you come back each and every day, midday UK time. That is 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific, and this is your opportunity as well to ask those questions. So get them in. We'll be doing them towards the end of the show like we did yesterday. Anything you want to ask, and I would say to you again, don't be afraid to ask, even if you think it's the most simplest thing in the world, or even if it's something that we've covered in the show already. You may well have missed it. Feel free to ask, and we'll do that interactive question and answer at the end of the show. Let's move on though, and we're going to look during this next section at crafting with speciality glues.
So we're going to have a little look now at some of the speciality glues that we use in our crafting, and we're going to start off with our Collal tacky glue. All we've done here is we've taken that tacky glue and we decanted it into one of our fine tip glue applicators, which gives us that ability to have that really fine point to apply very little adhesive at one time. All we've got here is we've got a piece of our black cardstock that we want to mat and layer onto some of our gold mirror cardstock. Now, with our mirror cardstock being a coated cardstock, it's a little bit more tricky to glue down. Something like your all-purpose is not ideal for any sort of coated cardstock. When it comes to adhering those coated cardstocks, your tacky glue is the one to go for. Now, all we need to do is take our black matting layer, and I tend to even do my matting layering with my tacky glue decanted into this fine tip glue applicator. It means you're much less likely to use far too much glue, which could potentially warp or buckle that card, and will also mean that you save glue in the long run. So just a small amount of that adhesive all around the back and a little bit into the centre as well will give you enough to hold these two mats and layers together. And with tacky glue being a wet glue as well, it means you get a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of time to actually manoeuvre those two mats and layers until you're happy that you've got a nice even border of gold all around the edge. And then once that tacky glue has dried, you know it's going to dry really, really firm. It's not going to strip the coating off that beautiful mirrored cardstock as well. And it's going to give you a really firm bond with no fuss, no trouble whatsoever. And that's how fantastic your tacky glue is for adhering any sort of coated card. Of course, here we've used our mirror card. It could be pearl card, it could be glitter card. Any of those coated cardstocks that we use in our crafting, your tacky glue is a fantastic one to go for. Now, next up, we'll have a little look at our hot glue gun. Now, hot glue gun is brilliant for sticking things like more tricky embellishments, heavier embellishments. Whenever you're wanting that really quick, pretty much instant bond, this is the one to go for. Your hot glue gun is absolutely fantastic. And for sticking your ribbon bows, it's great for that as well. So we'll just turn our ribbon bow over, take our glue gun. I've just had this heating up for a few minutes, so it's nicely up to temperature. You want to make sure that your hot glue gun is nicely warmed up. When it's not quite warm enough, you will find you get more of the strings, but by having it up to temperature, you know that it's going to give you a fantastic firm and quick bond. So we just plunge the trigger there, and that's just going to allow that glue to come out the nozzle. Manoeuvre that into position so it's exactly where we're wanting it onto the back of our bow. We'll just turn that over, of course, taking care that our fingers aren't in the way with it being a very hot adhesive, and then we'll just hold that into position. It takes literally just a few moments to grab, and once that's grabbed, you know, anything like your fabric embellishments, it could be buttons, metal charms, that is going to make it super, super easy to use our tape pen, to use our glue gun, sorry, to adhere our ribbon bows. That's a great use of our hot glue gun. Now, next up, we're going to have a little look at our fantastic Collal 3D glue gel. And this is a great adhesive if you're doing anything like decoupage, where you actually need that shape and that form to be held when it's actually dry. So we're going to take the lid off of this. And we've actually got some decoupage ready to go. So we've got all of our layers here of this beautiful floral arrangement, from our base layer, which is the largest one, and then working up the layers. As we go up the layers, those images get smaller and smaller to give us that effect of depth and dimension. So if we take our first layer, we'll take our Collal 3D glue gel, and we'll just squeeze the end of there to squeeze out that glue onto our reverse of our die cut there. And you can see all we need to do is just match those two images up, so you can see you've got the corresponding image on the layer below as to that layer above. We can just offer that up, and again, with this being a wet adhesive, it gives us just a few moments to manoeuvre that into position, and once we're happy with the positioning of those two layers, we can leave that as is, and it will dry, maintaining that form, maintaining that shape. Then we've got our next layer up, and we'll do exactly the same with this one. We'll just squeeze the end of that glue just to allow that to come out the end, and that's going to give us that lovely sort of bobble of glue onto there, ready to adhere onto our project. So we just line that up, find the matching area on the layer below, and that's going to line up perfectly onto there. And then our final layer, now with this one being a little bit smaller, what you could be doing is you could be taking your syringe, filling up your syringe, and you could be decanting the glue from the syringe onto there, which is perfect for getting to finer areas. If you've got really small areas of die cut decoupage, then your syringe is the one to go for. All you're going to do with that one is fill it up from that main bottle, fill it up into your syringe, and you are good to go and getting into all of those really really fine and small areas of your decoupage. But for our final layer here, our top layer, that smallest layer, let's go in again with some of that glue squeezed directly from that tube onto the reverse of our decoupage, and that's just going to lay on top of there like so. Now it will dry, sort of touch dry within a couple of hours, but for it to be dried fully to the centre and sort of dried enough to be posted or gifted, then it is sort of a wait for this to dry overnight, and that will give you a really nice firm bond, and that will hold and maintain its shape as it dries as well. So brilliant. Using your 3D glue gel is absolutely fantastic for when you're doing your decoupage. But one little tip, once you have finished with your glue gel, do make sure that a little bit of that adhesive, you've got almost like a little bubble of adhesive at the end there. That's just going to mean that none of the air can actually get into that bottle and dry up the glue. So make sure you've got a little bit of glue coming out the end there, and then pop the lid on, and that will be good to go next time you come to use it. When it comes to our 3D adhesives as well, it's not just about our 3D glue gel. Our foam tape and our foam pads can also give us depth and dimension to our projects to give us that lovely dimensional feel. And we can do exactly the same sort of idea with our foam pads and our decoupage. So we've taken exactly the same floral arrangement that we've just been putting together, but all we've done here is we've just popped some of our foam pads onto the reverse of here, and we can start to stack and layer up our image. Just exactly the same technique as we've used with the 3D glue gel, but this time using our foam pads. Now the advantage of foam pads is that it dries absolutely instantly. So if you do need to gift this as soon as it's made and you can't wait overnight until this is dried, then foam pads is the one to go for. The benefit though of using your 3D glue gel is it allows you to actually maintain some of that shape. So although we've got a sort of a little bit of roundness to that floral composition, when we bring in the one that we've actually done using some of our 3D glue gel, you can see that's got a little bit more shape. We're able to round off those edges a little bit more, whereas our foam pads or our foam tape have sort of one dimension. Our 3D glue gel can be moulded and shaped to many different forms and many different shapes to give us that beautiful roundness, depth and dimension to our decoupage. But both our foam pads and our 3D glue gel can be used to great effect for creating that dimension for our decoupage. Now next up, I'm going to show you 3 different ways of matting and layering using 3 different adhesives. So we've got 3 lots of exactly the same mats and layers. So we've got our orange going onto our black 3 times here, and we want to mat and layer those 3 together. So we'll start off with that first option, which is using our Collall all-purpose glue. This is a solvent-based glue. It's ideal for matting and layering. It will give you a little bit of wiggle room when you are doing your mats and layers. So we'll take our piece of orange card, we'll just turn that over to the reverse, we'll grab our Collall all-purpose, and we'll lightly apply that all over the edge, so all around the outside, and then just a little bit of glue across that centre part there. And then that is going to be ready to be matted and layered onto some of that black card with a very thin border around the edge. And if you're not quite happy with that placement there, it gives you a little bit of time to manoeuvre that into position and give you that perfect border all around the edge, and just sort of burnishing that a little bit to give you that perfect bond between the 2 mats and layers. So if you want a little bit of wiggle room, if you're a little bit less confident when it comes to your matting and layering and getting it perfect first time, your Collall all-purpose is the one to go for. But we can get exactly the same effect when it comes to our tape pen. So here I've got one of my solid tape pens. These are super strong tape pens, and they will dispense that solid line of tape. Now we do actually also bring to you the refillable version. They work exactly the same way. The only difference is that this one's a consumable, whereas this one can actually be refilled, so you can use that housing unit for many years to come just by refilling the tape element. So we do exactly the same technique of applying our adhesive onto the reverse. So just get our tape pen going, and as we come to the end where we want to break off the tape pen, just make sure you sort of flick that adhesive. That will cut the adhesive, and you're less likely to get strings when you finish using that tape pen. So there we go, just flick. So run along the edge like so and flick, and then a little bit of tape into the centre, and then that's ready to be mat and laid onto our card. Now the difference, and perhaps the drawback if you like, of our tape pen, although it's very strong, although it's very quick, it means that we do have to sort of get that lined up perfectly first time round. So we're just going, just hovering above ever so slightly, whereas with my all-purpose I wasn't quite as timid when I was positioning that. I was not so worried about moving that around. With our tape pen, once it's down onto that surface, it is pretty much adhered, so you do need to make sure that you take just a moment to centre that up into the middle. But that gives you, once again, the same fabulous effect when it comes to our matting and layering. And then finally we have one more option when it comes to our flat matting and layering onto an uncoated cardstock, and that's our finger lift tape. And when we talk about a finger lift tape, all we mean is that it's a form of double-sided adhesive. If we turn over that little piece of finger lift tape there, you can see down the centre we've got our line of adhesive, but it doesn't extend right to the two very edges of that carrier. So you can see at the top and bottom you've got a little bit of excess carrier where there's no tape in the centre. And what that means, it means it's super easy to work with this adhesive, very easy to tear, and it's also easy to get that backing off the adhesive when we're ready to stick that element down. So instead of bringing out our scissors, what we can do is just pop our tape onto our cardstock like so, and then at the end there we could just hold that and tear the end. And because it's got a tissue tape carrier to this double-sided tape, it means it's very easy to tear, making it super quick to do your matting and layering with this finger lift tape. So once again, just tear the edge like so, and we'll do exactly the same for the top and bottom. Super easy to tear, and then you can get that quick effect with your matting and layering piece at the top, and then we'll have another piece onto the centre there. Now what you can do, of course, is you could be peeling back all of the carrier sheets from those pieces of double-sided. But what you can do, if you need a little bit more of wiggle room, a bit more time to manoeuvre, we'll just pull back the carrier sheet of that middle piece entirely, but all of the pieces around the edge, rather than fully taking back all of that carrier sheet. All we're going to do is we're just going to take a little piece back and we're just actually going to fold that over. So the same with our red liner tape, we need to make sure that that tape is nicely burnished before we try to actually peel back that backing. But here, just peel a little bit back, fold it over, don't actually remove any of that tape, and this will give us just a few moments to manoeuvre our mat and layer into position before we fully remove that carrier sheet. So if we turn this over now, we can see we've got 4 of those sort of tails to our double-sided, just giving us a moment to centre this up. Once we're happy with where we've actually lined up our mat and layer, we'll hold that into position, and then you can just take those little tails there and just pull them back. So it gives you an extra little bit of time to manoeuvre your mat and layer into position to get that perfect border all around the edge there. So 3 different ways of mat and layering using 3 different adhesives, using first of all your double-sided finger lift tape, then we used our lovely tape pen, and then finally, well, first of all, we used our all-purpose glue. So 3 different ways of matting and layering. A little recap of what we've had a look at in this video. We've had a look at using our decoupage with our foam pads for dimension. We've done the same image but slightly different effect by using our 3D glue gel. We've stuck one of our more tricky embellishments, one of our bows, to our cardstock using our hot glue gun. And you can see now that's really nicely stuck onto our cardstock. That's going absolutely nowhere. And we've also done our matting and layering onto some of our coated cardstock, our mirror cardstock, using our tacky glue. So that's some of the uses of your specialty glues within your crafting.
Brilliant. Thank you so much to Lily. Thank you for all of the lovely comments coming through as well. Sandy, particularly liking the tip on the double-sided tape. Hello to Stephen, who's joining us too, saying good afternoon to Ben and Lily and everyone at Crafters Companion. We've got launch party coming up for you later on tonight, live at 5, so that's midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. If it is adhesives you're now after, we've got a brilliant adhesives bundle for you, which does contain things like your tape pen, your tacky glue, your all-purpose. So pretty much a lot of the things that Lily's covered in this particular show. So if you want to bundle up on everything, if you shop the day, you'll be able to see that bundle there alongside all of the other goodies that we've got coming up for you a little bit later on. I know we've got a few questions coming through as well, and a few things that I certainly want to recap on with Lily. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to have our little interactive Q&A section. If there is anything that you want to ask, if there is a question that you need answered, please get it in. If there's something that Lily's covered over the course of the last 40 minutes and you're not quite sure, ask again. We're quite happy to go over things because we want to make sure that you go away from this show filled with all of the information that you need to be able to get the very best out of all of your adhesives. That way you're then going to get the very best out of your crafting as well, aren't you? So fire those questions in, and when we come back, we'll have that Q&A with Lily. But in the meantime, we'll take a short break and we'll see you in a moment.
Come in, check my emails, then lay the shows out in the studio, set pack shots up. Then I will get new polls, pick shows that need solving. We deal with other teams where we receive suites, we receive odds. We pick samples to send to Hobby Maker. We pick samples to QVC. We will take the previous shows out of the studio, set the new shows up. We do floor manage occasionally, all the time, making sure that the craft presenters have everything at hand that they need, that they haven't got during shows. We will run about and get the products for them. Think on a morning when it's really quiet, get moored up when there's nobody else in the building. Night owl. Morning. Coffee on a morning, tea the rest of the day. Normally lunchtime. Craft along. Mobile phone. Christina's chicken wrap. Barry White. You're my first, my everything. Go home and make the tea.
I like to get up, relax, have tea, then get myself started. And if I'm presenter, I'll write all my notes. If I'm the demonstrator, I'll get my prep, have another look at it, make sure that everything is the way it needs to be for the show, do the show. Then what I'll do is I'll grab something to eat, then have another look at the show again, making sure the next show's all good to go. Do that show tidy. I always like to make sure that the area is nice and tidy, either for myself the next or whoever's in. Jump in the car, head home. I will quickly unpack what I need to unpack, and then I get on that sofa as quick as I can. As soon as we go live, I love that within our live shows, I always get the butterflies. As soon as we get that countdown in our ear that we're just going live, butterflies kick in, and within about 10-15 seconds, butterflies have gone. Enjoy the show. Early riser. Oh, shower in the morning. Tea. Oh, Saturday breakfast. Master. My mobile phone. Oh, anything with chicken. Currently, it is the weekend, Blinding Light, and it has been for about a couple of years. I still love it. Apart from jumping in the car, chilling on the sofa, watching TV.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for all the lovely comments coming through. Certainly, it's been another great Craft Your Stash show. Loads of you watching. Loads of questions that we'll come to in just a second. Don't forget, tonight as well, though, we are going to be back live at 5. It is launch party, loads of goodies coming up on the show. Going to be concentrating on the cracker die a lot, aren't you, tonight?
Yeah, cracker die, strip border dies, Thanksgiving collection, and the patchwork creator card, which I'm super excited to demo because I love those dies. Now, you know, you guys at home have absolutely loved them as well.
Plus, as I keep mentioning, if you've sort of really had your interest peaked in crafting during the show and you're wanting to pick up adhesives, there's a brilliant adhesives bundle there for you as well. So do have a look. It's all there for you right now on the website. All you need to do is just shop the day. All right, let's have a look at some questions then, because loads of questions have come in over the course of the show. So Julie Palmer's first question, can we put all-purpose glue into those tiny bottles?
Absolutely, you can. So it's exactly the same technique as you do with your tacky glue. So all you need to do is you just need to screw the lid off the bottle here. Obviously this one's already full of tacky glue. Then all you're going to do is you're going to take your adhesive, whether it's your tacky glue or your all-purpose. You're just going to take the lid off, of course. You're going to squeeze and decant that into there. You don't need to water it down. Even with your tacky glue, that's perfect consistency to still go into those bottles. So there's no need to add water. But whether you're using your tacky glue or your all-purpose, it works absolutely perfectly in these fine tip glue applicators.
I'll tell you a couple of questions where we need to show. So Ruth is asking about the tape pen. So obviously we've got the original tape pen.
We do.
And the refillable. She wants to know how you can tell which tape pen is which.
Okay, so your original tape pens, which we can see here, you're not able to sort of open these, you're not able to get into the tape in the centre. So this is one of your originals. The new or refillable tape pens are a little bit more pinky in colour and they're a little bit larger, slightly different shape when it comes to these refillable tape pens. And in order to actually refill these, all you need to do is, you can see we've got some ridges just underneath like that plastic sheath there. All you need to do is just squeeze down on those and then that separate section is going to come off. And then you're going to take the tape pen sort of apart into two separate halves. So just prise that open and you can see that reel there where we've got our tape. You can see it's running very, very low is this one now. All you need to do is just clip that out and then clip one of the replacements in, and then you'll just pop your tape pen back together and you are good to go. Whereas when it comes to your regular tape pens, your originals if you like, you can't really prise those open. You can't see any sort of visible areas where you're going to actually prise that open. So by looking at that, you know that is your regular tape pen, non-refillable, and in contrast, slightly more pinky. We've just shown how you can take that apart. That is our refillable tape pen.
But as far as what's actually inside the tape pens, it's the same stuff, isn't it?
Exactly the same. Still strong adhesive, still fabulous for your mat and layering, your construction, your acetate, your box making. Still a super strong adhesive. It's just the carrier, the sort of housing that's a little bit different.
Let's get on to the 3D glue, because Rose was asking about that. She wants to know how we dispense that into the syringe. Is that easy to do?
Great question. Super, super easy, Rose. So all you're going to do is you're going to take your Collal 3D glue gel. Here I've got my syringe. I've got the two separate parts. I've got this part that needs filling up, and then I've got my separate plunger. And all we'll do is we'll take our 3D glue gel, and then all you need to do is just angle that into your syringe there. So just squeeze in onto your syringe, and it depends how how much you're going to use that. If you've got a small project in mind, maybe just add a little bit of that 3D glue gel into the syringe. But if you've got a little bit more crafted, perhaps you're batch making, then fill this up a little bit more. Now we do recommend don't fill it much more than halfway. Reason being is when we come to actually pop our syringe, our plunger into the end of there, we'll just pop that into that syringe there. If you've got too much of that 3D glue gel in there, if it's completely filled up that barrel, you're not going to have any space to pop in your plunger. Then all you need to do is just squeeze that out to the end, and then that is just going to come out of the end our adhesive. You can see that it's a lot finer, a lot more able to get into all of those intricate details compared to the bottle itself, which is obviously great for getting into larger areas a little bit more quickly. Now, same idea, we did talk earlier about making sure you've got a little bit of a bubble. I'm ahead of him. Get a little bit of bubble on the end of your bottle here before you pop the lid in, just to make sure that none of that air is going to get into that bottle of glue. And it's exactly the same when it comes to your plunger here. You want to make sure that you've got a little bit of that adhesive sort of protruding out the end so that none of that air can actually get into that glue and dry it up. So make sure a little bit coming out the end and you are good to go. But you've seen that it's super easy to fill up your syringes.
Loads of questions. It's brilliant. Thank you so much. Sarah's just asking, can we use embossing powder with the glue pen if we want to write out a sentiment on my project?
Good question, but I would say your glue pens are more for your gilding flakes and your glitters. If you want to get that same sort of effect with embossing powders, you will actually find over on Tinterweb, you will find some embossing powder sort of pens. So it's like our watermark ink pad, but in a pen form. Those are available in the craft market. It's a little bit different because you can't actually heat set. If you pop your embossing powder onto your glue pen, you aren't going to be able to heat set that using your heat tool like we do with our embossing powders.
Alex is asking about paper piecing. She says, how can I use the hold and release sheet for paper piecing?
Oh, great question. So our hold and release sheets are not sort of an adhesive as such. They're there to actually hold the pieces of that die cut within the cardstock so that when you actually go to do the paper piecing, you've not got all the little bits scattered over your die cutting plates and you're desperately trying to work out where everything goes. So all you need to do when it comes to those hold and release sheets, you pop your cardstock next to your die as usual, and then behind that you place a piece of that hold and release sheet that's the same size as your die or bigger than your die. You're going to run that through your die cutting machine, you remove your die, and you'll see that once you take away that die, all the die cut pieces are still within that cardstock, just ready to poke out and adhere onto your cardstock. But it's not adhesive, it's just a way of keeping all of those pieces in one place at one time.
Some great questions coming in. Patricia is asking, do you think any of these glues will work on polymer clay?
Oh, great question. Yeah. Do you know what I would say? I would say your hot glue gun. It sticks just about everything, it sticks it instantly. That would be a good one. I would say your 3D glue gel would work as well. And finally, I'd also say your tacky glue, because this sticks all sorts. It sticks metal, it sticks glass, it sticks fabric, it sticks all those tricky surfaces. I'd say that would be one to go for, but you'll have to wait for that one to dry a little bit longer, whereas your hot glue will be instant. But definitely, glues within our range will work with so many different crafts and so many different surfaces.
We have a question from All Things Wonderful who says, how do I adhere a flat piece of acetate or vellum to a flat piece of card?
Oh, great question. Acetate or vellum can be a little bit more tricky because especially with vellum, you don't want something that's got a lot of moisture, because that will cause the vellum to what we call blow or sort of wrinkle. So what I tend to use when it comes to adhering my vellum or my acetate is my red liner tape. I know we call it red liner tape, but that doesn't mean that the actual tape itself is red. It's just the carrier that's red. The tape underneath that carrier is super clear and it's super sticky. So it's great for more see-through elements like your vellum or your acetate. I tend to try and find when I am actually adhering my vellum to try and have my acetate, my adhesive, underneath and try and cover it over the top so you don't see any of that. So maybe something like an embellishment, a pearl, a bride, anything like that. But your red liner tape is super sticky and it will adhere both your acetate and your vellum.
And just on that front, a common one that we do get, how to stop your paper warping with liquid glue. So if you're getting warping, is that the fact that you're using too much glue?
Yeah, quite often that can be that you're using too much glue. However, if you're using a solvent-based glue, like your Collall All-Purpose, because this is not water-based and it's effectively the water that's causing that cardstock to warp, not the sticky stuff that's in the glue, it's the water. Because this is not water-based, it's actually solvent-based, this is going to mean that you're much less likely to get that wrinkling, get that warping. So if you're sticking uncoated cardstocks together, this one is the one to go for. Nice and sparingly applying this to your cardstock, so just a border around the edge, a little blob in the middle, and you are going to be good to go, and you're not going to be getting any warping, any wrinkling with your solvent-based glue, because it tends to be those water-based glues, especially if you're applying it quite overzealously, so to speak, you are going to tend to get that warping and that wrinkling, so do go for something like All-Purpose.
Norma Rodriguez is asking a question which often comes up. You know the ballpoint glue pens that we've got with the blue glue. How do we get those started? A few people say they struggle to get those started.
You need to prime those. So when they first come to you through the post, they're not sort of ready to get going. You need to prime it. So pump up that nib, make sure that all of that glue is flowing. And once you get the glue flowing, you'll know because it comes out blue, which means it's super easy to know exactly where you're applying that glue. Make sure you're scribbling it down, getting that glue flowing to the base, and it's good to go. And quite often they come with a little protective thing on the nib as well. So do make sure you remove that and you should be good to go.
Helen Stewart says, hello, I'm enjoying the show. When would you use double-sided adhesive sheets?
Oh, brilliant question. I use them an awful lot, especially if you've got really delicate dies. What you can do is you can pop your cardstock with some of that sheet on the back, and then you can run that through your die cutting machine, and effectively you've created a sticker, so you then don't need to apply any adhesive onto the back once you've peeled back that backing. You can use it as well for things like paper piecing. So you can have a sheet of cardstock, pop your double-sided adhesive sheet over the top, then pop your outline die, and then you can bring in with all your different paper piece elements. It makes it super easy. You don't have to put glue on the back of all the pieces. You can use it with glitter as well. You can use it with gilding flakes. It's a fantastic adhesive, but great for creating pretty much your own stickers.
And Doreen just asks, you know, you were talking with the 3D glue about when you finish just to leave a little bit out. She says, does that apply with other glue to leave a bit of glue out of the bottle before closing the lid?
No, only with your Collal 3D glue gel. Don't do the same with our tacky glue or with our all-purpose, only with our Collal, whether it's in our syringe or in the bottle itself. Just make sure you've got that little bubble of glue, stops the air getting into the tube.
Thank you so much, everybody, for all of your questions when it comes to glues. Hopefully, Lily's answered everything, and you can now go away and stick to your heart's content. A massive thank you. It's been a fabulous show. I could potentially ask you a few more questions just before we disappear.
I mean, I could talk about glue for literally all day long. I love adhesives. If it's not come across, I absolutely love all the different sorts of adhesives. So I hope I've shared that with you guys at home, and hopefully we've got those questions answered.
Should we just do a couple more? So I know we've got a bit of time.
Go on.
I've just written down a few here which are common, which come up quite a lot. So one which I feel comes up a lot on shows is with your foam pads.
Yep.
So if we're sticking with foam pads, some of our guys will tell you to use a wet glue with your foam pads. Do we need to do that every time, or is there a specific time that we're doing that technique?
No, so what you can do, like I know some of the guys here, they do take the backing off and then they pop something like a tacky glue onto the reverse. All that does effectively is it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. So very much like your double-sided tape, your foam pads, once you've stuck them down, it's pretty much stuck. But if you want a little bit of time to manoeuvre them around, to move that around until you've got that perfect placement, just pop something like your tacky glue onto the reverse and then you can move it around. But you don't need to do that. It's just to make your life a little bit easier.
Okay. And one other thing I thought I'd quickly ask is flowers, making foam flowers. What glue should I be using there?
I always go for hot glue.
Okay.
I find it a lot easier. Just make sure that you keep your fingers out of the way, and hot glue is the one that I always personally use.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for all the comments coming through. All Things Wonderful says, thank you so much, Lily, for answering my question.
You're very welcome.
Great tips. Angela says, this has been a really, really helpful show because I'm always forgetting which glue is best.
It's easy to forget, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, hopefully I've helped you guys at home just remember why they're all fabulous and why we need them all.
And Ouchie says, that is a lot of information. I loved it. You can come back, obviously, and rewatch this show and rewind and watch to your heart's content. Do we want to have a look at just a few samples you've got here?
Yes.
Just to talk us around how they've been stuck.
So, I'm going to show you this one first off because this is showing the fantastic dimensional nature of our 3D foam pads. Now, to look at that front on, you might not think that's got a lot of dimension. Oh,
Whoa.
wait till that. It's like a structure, it's like a building, it's like a pyramid.
It is like a pyramid, yeah.
All of that dimension to that. So that's using some of our foam pads. It gives you that fantastic dimensional look and feel to your projects. It makes your cars look so expensive. Even just one layer of foam pads. You don't have to go completely to town with goodness knows how many foam pads on the back of there. I won't like to count. We haven't got that much time left on the day, have we? But you can just add one layer of foam pads, one layer of dimension, makes a massive difference to your projects. And I think that really shows quite how impactful our foam pads are. Now, I have to show you this one next. This is a fantastic card, and it's actually showing quite a few different adhesives on the one card. So our acetate dome here, which looks absolutely fabulous. Look how impressive that looks from the side. That's been adhered using some of your red liner tape. Fantastic for adhering acetate is our red liner tape that we looked at a little bit earlier. And then we've got some decoupage on the front and back here. Those have been adhered using our 3D glue gel to get that fabulous depth and dimension. And then we've got our really delicate sentiment there, our spooky sentiment, which we've adhered, I would presume it's either your tacky glue and a fine tip glue applicator or your dotty tape pen. So lots and lots of different adhesives in play on that one project, showing why it's so important to have all of those different adhesives in our crafty stash.
Excellent stuff. What a fantastic show. And this is the kind of comment we want to finish on. Rose saying, thank you, Lily. I now know everything about glue.
Oh, thank you, Rose. It's been fun, hasn't it?
It's been really great.
Educational, hopefully.
And like I said at the start, I think it's great for beginners, but also even for people like yourself with craft years, there must be moments when you go, oh, what glue again?
Yeah,
it just goes,
you
doesn't
always
it?
forget, and sometimes it's because you make a mistake, you end up realising, oh, that wasn't the best glue. So sometimes just that little refresher, it always helps.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hopefully we answered your question. We're doing it again tomorrow. We've got another crafty stash. Tomorrow we're going to be concentrating on all things stencils with Debbie Fisher, so make sure you're in for that. And if you missed yesterday's crafty stash with Lily, all about stamping, you can catch up on that on 24/7. It's coming up straight after the show. And Lily and I will be back with you tonight. Launch party. Just remind us again what you're going to be crafting tonight.
We're going to have a look at some lovely strip border dies. We'll look at the patchwork creator cards, the Thanksgiving collection, and that it's a cracker. the crack of dawn.
And if you are shopping in the meantime, loads on our website. Coming to the end of the deals as far as our Halloween sale is concerned. And if you haven't yet downloaded your birthday booklet, check it out. It's on the website. Lily and I will see you for launch party tonight, live at 5. Bye for now.